Good morning. Welcome back to the Namaste Experience. I'll tell you in just a moment where I am and what's happening, but I want to say that as I was listening to Dwayne play the beautiful flute music, we've been so blessed to have that as our meditation. I was feeling this simple line that it's not about what we say, but what we radiate. It's not the words we speak, but the love that we radiate and share and spread in every direction. We spread it in every direction because it is in every direction. And it's really just my recognition of that. That is what creates and allows that radiation when I realize that that love is spreading everywhere, always. So thank you, Dwayne, for that. Something else that happened this morning was Vicky sent me a little note as we were starting. I'm going to talk about my new home here in a second, but she was welcoming me to my new home here in Ashland, Oregon. And she said, I'm coming here in the time of Mary. So what that meant for me, first of all, I think yesterday was the Feast of the Immaculate Conception. And we're coming up in Mexico on the Feast of Our Lady of Guadalupe. You all have fun with all those bombs that are going off. I don't mean to laugh at you, but no bombs here. So the time of Mary means the time of reception of our perfection, rather than the pretense of perfection. So once again, the reception of perfection, receiving what is forever perfect, rather than the pretense of perfection, which means it will be perfect when? It will be perfect when I have read enough books, when I have studied enough, when I've had the right teacher. That list goes on and on and on. It never ends. But something happened to Mary. In fact, I was just unpacking and I came across this beautiful statue. Since Vicky loves to do show and tell, this is my little show and tell. This is a statue of Mary. It's called the Annunciation, when the angel Gabriel came to her and told her that she would conceive, she would radiate the Christ. In her life, it was that she would give birth, but we're all called to radiate that same Christ energy, to give birth to that. And it doesn't matter if we think we're perfect, if we're ready. In fact, Mary, a short time later, when she was with her cousin Elizabeth, said, "My soul proclaims the greatness of the Lord. He has looked at me, his lowly servant, and called me blessed. From this day, all generations will call me blessed." She was able to receive the perfection of that moment, the energy and the life of Christ within her, just as we are called to do. So, Vicky, thanks for reminding me that today is the day of Mary, of the reception of our perfection. So let me give you another way of understanding this. So, as I said, I am here in my new home in Ashland, Oregon. Of course, I'll be back at Namaste, and I'll be there a lot, but I'm also going to be here. Instead of Portland, I lived in Ashland for 12 years. I have many, many dear family friends here. So it feels really great. And we moved yesterday from Portland and got all our stuff here. That was quite the journey. Exhausting, but good. And I was able to get a lot of the stuff out of the boxes, including, I'm going to show you here, you're going to see something right behind me, a record player. That was one of the first things that I wanted to get out, my record player, and play some of my records. It made me feel very much at home when I got out my Jeff Buckley record and played that. And I was thinking that a record player is a good example of the reception and the pretense of perfection. So many of you remember, maybe you're old enough to remember, I think they were 78s. My parents used to have these old big, not big, but heavy 78 albums. This is before the 33 LP. So you had the 78s, you even had the singles, which were smaller, and you'd put them on the turntable. If I remember, the 78s were clunky, the sound wasn't as great, and when we were able to get a stereo and play the 33s, wow, that was great. And you had, like, hold on, here's an example. This is my Hotel California album. I haven't even taken it out of the case yet. But you'd get to open up the album and read the liner notes, and it was a substantial thing that you had in your hand. And you could put it then on the record player, and after a little while, maybe right away, you would hear some things that maybe you didn't anticipate. You would hear some pops. You would hear some little crackles, maybe even a skip in the record. So we moved from the 78 to the 33, and then we started to change again. We got, remember the cassette tapes? Well, first it was 8 tracks. Some of you are probably old enough to remember the big 8 tracks. That was so that you could bring it in your car. You couldn't bring a turntable in your car, but you could stick an 8-track and then a smaller cassette, these magnetic tapes, right? And then after a little while, even that changed. It was no longer magnetic tapes. I don't have a CD here, but we've all seen CDs. Now we're getting somewhere because now the sound is perfect. The sound is digital. It's no longer analog. It's not going to change. There's not going to be any pops or scratches or anything like that. There is the pretense. Pretense means pretending to be perfect because it has a perfect sound. And then, of course, after a little while, right here in our phones, I can connect to Bluetooth to my speakers, and I can play the digital recording, like hundreds and hundreds of digital recordings that are right here in my phone. And once again, they'd be perfect. There'd be no pops, there'd be no scratches. But this is the pretense part. The pretense of perfection means that I'm perfect if. I'm perfect if there are no pops. Perfect as if there are no scratches. But anyone who knows anything about sound knows that there is a warmth to the LP, to the record player, that I'll never get with the perfect sound that comes from my phone or from a CD or from any digital recording. There's a warmth, there's an energy, there's a feeling of perfection that we can really get. And so this is why one of the very first things that I did when I got here yesterday, after I got some of the furniture in place, I got out the record player and I played a couple of records just to fill the space with this perfect sound, which had nothing to do with anything that was less than. It was perfect exactly the way it is. And isn't that exactly the truth for each one of us? Once again, the pretense of perfection is not where we want to be, even though that's where most of us do find ourselves often. The state of I'll be perfect when, I'll be enlightened when, I'll be whole when, I'll be holy. After I've let go of all these things, after I've changed this behavior, after I've done whatever it is I've done or need to do. And I don't think Mary was feeling that way when the angel Gabriel came to her and said, the Christ is within you now. You are going to radiate this light, and it's going to change the world. And I say the same thing to you now. The Christ is in you. It is being born through and as you. Meister Eckhart once said, let us all be like Mary, and let the Christ be born through us. That's a paraphrase, but it was something like that. And that has nothing to do with your ideas of perfection. That has nothing to do with any of the concepts that you hold of when you're finished. There is no finished on the spiritual journey. There is only continuing radiation, continuing growth, continuing expansion. But you're perfect the whole time. You don't need to change or do anything. So, that being said, I wrote a little something this morning that I think I'll put up here on the screen. so we can all look at it together. So this is my version of the pretense of perfection. You can read along with me. It says, like going from a record player to a CD player, it's easy to think that the perfect sound of the digital recording is better than the cracks and skips of the analog. But perfect behavior does not equal perfection. That's the key. It has nothing to do with your behavior, what you say, what you do, how you act. Perfection is a state of exactly as it is now. Perfect because of what it really is. You are perfect because of who you really are. You are the wholly perfect extension of the love of God. Let me say that again. You are the wholly perfect extension of the love of God. And as it says in A Course in Miracles, the extension of God never leaves its source. So you are contained within the all of God. You have never left your source, no matter how you have imagined so. You are perfect right here, right now. So once again, exactly as it is now, perfect because of what it really is. In the eyes of love, perfection has nothing to do with flawlessness, improvement, or self-control. Love does not measure, compare, or edit reality into something more acceptable. Something more acceptable. You can almost feel that. I want to be something that's more acceptable to other people, or more acceptable to the world, or more acceptable even to myself. All of the ideas that I have of how different I should be. You don't need to be any different than you are right now, dear one, because you're wholly imperfect exactly the way you are. Even with your pops, even with your scratches, even with all of the things that you have failed to do or never did or hope to do one day, you are perfect and whole right now. Okay. So it simply recognizes truth. What love sees is essence, not performance, being, not behavior. The crack in the record is not a defect to be erased. It is part of the music that reveals the depths of the sound. Love does not ask you to become something else, something different, something more. It sees through every distortion directly to the unchanging goodness that has never been absent. So, to be perfect in the eyes of love is to be whole, not polished. That's a good one. To be whole. We think we have to be perfectly polished. We don't. You're perfect even in your dull moments, even in the moments where you fall and you get scratched. Whole and perfect right now. It is to be utterly honest, present without defense, without pretense, without the impulse to correct yourself into worthiness. I'm sure we all know that feeling, correcting ourselves into worthiness. I'll be worthy, I'll be perfect when? Love calls you perfect, not because you have removed every skip, but because nothing essential has ever been missing. When effort relaxes and self-judgment falls away, what remains is not improvement, but recognition. You are already aligned with love simply by being what you are. You're already perfect and whole just by being what you already are, where you are, as you are. Perfection, then, is not an achievement, but a quiet consent. I love that. It's not an achievement, but a quiet consent that you are one with love itself. Allowing love to see you as it always has, and letting that seeing be enough. Letting that seeing be enough. I don't need to change my body, my personality, You know, I can decide whether I should have a beard or a goatee, or shave my head or not shave my head, get cooler glasses or not. None of that matters. It's fun. Do it if you want, but it doesn't change anything. Just like that record player. I could get a scratch on it today, but it doesn't change how cool it sounds. And it doesn't change how cool you are. You are the cool one of the universe. Okay, I'll stop there. So let's be like Mary. Let's accept our perfection, our wholeness, and let's radiate it, not with words, not with concepts, but with presence itself. So there you have it. Vicky, I know you've got something to say about that. Why don't you pop on all in?
All right, this is great. I love a Mary Day. And because what is it? Mary just is loving. A mother, a being who accepted an angel telling her that things were going to change now, and that she was holding the mother of this Christ child. And she spent a life loving that child and trusting and loving everyone else around her. It's not an accident we don't hear a lot of what Mary said, because she's that perfect example of radiating love. And the same with us. We don't need a lot of words or even a lot of actions. We need to stay in the frequency of loving. And it's really simply love. And without any pretense, without any agenda, without any tomorrow in mind, trusting that loving today, right where we are, loving each other without that extra effort it takes to want to change someone or fix something, and simply loving them for the essence that we know they are. It's a way of seeing through time and space and bodies and all the rest of it by seeing this spirit in each other, focusing on it, looking at it, connecting with it, being grateful for it. That's what Christ's vision is. It's just seeing the light in each other and loving that light, loving everyone without any comment of they could do to be better or change or fix. Because by not regarding the forms around the essence, we stay in tune and we stay in that frequency of joining with essence. And that corrects the outside picture as a byproduct. When we live through essence, that focus of living by recognizing spirit in all of creation, but especially with each other, then we get to enjoy it. And as a byproduct, things spin in a harmony around us without our trying to arrange it or rearrange it or suggest a rearrangement for our brother or our sister. When we see that they already are perfect and that they don't need a correction, then we can accept that in ourselves as well, that who we really are is already perfect. It's like a little kitten that doesn't need any big change about it. And change will come as a byproduct, as a fruit. Those are the fruits of the spirit that come. The change that comes to us is patience, it's gentleness, it's kindness, it's trusting, it's being innocent and celebrating everything as it is. It's being grateful without looking for an outcome to come later, but being grateful that grace and spirit and essence is present now and that we're connecting to it. Spend a minute connecting to anything, to a leaf, to a bug, to anything. Just connect to it and enjoy it. That's the fruit of spirit, to enjoy the communion that we're already in. When the shades are pulled over from our eyes, when we're not shrouded in material stuff, we rest in love. We give everything to loving one another. And there's no tomorrow to get to. It's just simply love, only God, only now. That's where it brings us. And it's really simple. You don't have to complicate it. We let it be simple. We live simply. And our simplicity brings love to everything and everyone, to consciousness all around us. We are the flower of love blooming in every moment when we pay attention to only love. The prompts that come from love will benefit ourselves and each other. We can trust it. We don't have to measure it or figure it out. We can just love and let it unfold. And in anyone we see that's seeming to have a problem, we love them for who they are. We see their spirit. We join with them there. And we can be grateful for the unfoldment in time, knowing that spirit will guide that unfoldment through grace because we're in the frequency of grace and love. When we are in the frequency of grace and love, we are natural miracle workers. We are natural healers, healing the mistaken vision of what we thought was there by resting in the frequency of what is there, our perfection and all of life's perfection. We rest in them and we allow it to tell us through our heart, through the next prompt in our heart, to go here, go there, call this, do that. We follow that prompt of love in our heart, and it takes care of all the rest that we need to do. So that's all. Make it keep it simple.
Keep it simple. I love it. Thank you, Vicky. Yes, only love, only God, only now. We just have to stick with that right here, right now. Love is everything. Love is everywhere. There are songs, there are poems that say this over and over and over again. All we need to do is to receive, to welcome, and to allow. So, Penny, I'm wondering. I have memories of Christmas morning coming downstairs, and you see a pile of gifts, and usually there'd be one record album that we something I've been wanting. I remember one year it was George Harrison. Maybe a year or two before that, I wasn't quite as cool, and it was Bobby Sherman. I'm wondering, what records did you show up on Christmas morning and find beneath the tree?
8-track, baby. I had a Ford Pinto that had an 8-track cassette player. And as long as I didn't get hit from the rear, I was just fine in that Ford Pinto. Meatloaf, Paradise by the Dashboard Light. That was my go-to. And then, of course, the little Allman Brothers in there. Soul Shine, right? And got to have the Beatles, right? Got to have the Beatles. Man, music is universal, isn't it? Right? I remember being in Italy, seeing these musicians on the street corner. And these other people would just walk up with cases, guitars, whatever instrument they happened to have. And none of them spoke the same language, but they could play music together. And that is the case of humankind. We don't have to speak the same language. We have different celebrations this time of year. Hanukkah's coming up, right? Christmas is around the corner. And that receiving the perfection, wow, the acceptance of receiving the perfection. I had to sit right here in this chair and do a little stretching into that. And this morning, I happen to have picked up The Prophet by Khalil Gibran. And the question was, what do you have to say about love? And as we started this conversation about perfection, I said, what do you have to say about that, love? What do you have to say about the perfection that we already are? What do you have to say about that? Love gives not but of itself, and it takes not from itself. Love possesses not, nor would it be possessed. For love is sufficient unto love. When you love, you should not say, God is in my heart, but rather, I am the heart of God. And think not you can direct the course of love, because love finds you worthy and it directs your course. Love has no other desire but to fulfill itself. And if you love and you must have desires, let these be those: to melt and be like a running brook that sings its melody to the night, to know the pain of too much tenderness, to be wounded by your own understanding of love, and to bleed willingly and joyfully for that, to wake at dawn with a winged heart and give thanks for another day of loving, to rest at the noon hour and meditate love's ecstasy, to return home at eventide with gratitude, and then to sleep with a prayer for the beloved in your heart and a song of praise upon your lips. If I could have an 8-track cassette of that, I think I'd have played that one, maybe sometimes, instead of Meatloaf. Thank you, James.
Thank you, Penny, honey. I can just see you in that car listening to Meatloaf. I was just listening to him a couple of days ago. He seems like, from all the stories I've heard about your youth, I can see that. And it was perfect. And we are perfect, and you are perfect and whole. You don't need to pretend. There is no pretense of perfection, only the reception. This is the lesson that Mary has taught us. It's the message that we hear every day. If we would have ears to hear it, all we need to do is to look at the people around us and give them that gift. See them as whole and perfect, no matter what. Give it away. Be the source. Don't hold back. This is always the ego's issue. We hold back just in case I need something, in case I want something more. There is nothing more than extending perfection, because that is all God does. All God does is extend the perfection of love everywhere, every moment. And if we would be receptive to that, if we would but receive that, then all is all. It's all there. All we need to do is to be willing to give. And it's to that giving that we say, Amen, Amen, Amen y punto. Period. Love you all. Have a beautiful day. Namaste.